Hello and welcome to Clase Arena. Today I would like to discuss with you some Ed-Psych, some pedagogy involved in the whole entire application. We're just kind of do a general overview and think about all the components and how they're going to work together for our students. So, the first thing you need to be aware of is the main components that work together, and then the subcomponents that are sort of optional and work with individual student profiles. So, the first idea of Clase Arena was to target teacher burnout by supporting teachers with classroom management, specifically managing classroom behaviors that are undesirable. So we want to limit undesirable behaviors and we want to promote desirable behaviors. Of course, that's what we want, right? That's pretty obvious to us. So how do we do that? A lot of times my OG methods involved sometimes confrontation with students at a certain point, right? And while I'm not afraid of confrontation, and while it can work and has worked in certain scenarios, it can also be something that creates tension relationship-wise with students. And it also requires an enormous amount of effort, emotional effort on my part as a teacher, and just time effort. And I would much rather have my class be full of learning minutes than management minutes, right? I want to minimize my management minutes. Minimize management minutes. Say that 5 times fast. Anyway, so the idea is to have the students work together collaboratively as a whole class, and also operating on the idea that as a student, my behavior impacts others, and others' behavior impacts me, and that we as a class are a team. We should be supporting one another. So the main components are the monsters, the quests, the rewards, and of course the tower is just kind of the hub of the profile of everything, and it's how you can kind of manage your HP, your defense, and your gold. Those all kind of connect with monsters and quests. So instead of me noticing that students are talking when they're not supposed to be talking, and me saying, all right, you all, you need to stop talking, which, however you want to phrase it, eventually, if you have to tell them over and over and over again, you're human, you're probably going to become annoyed, right? And so instead, I have a more lighthearted, fun approach that still keeps students accountable. I would initiate an orc attack. They hear that noise, they hear that music, they know it's time to do these 3 things: maintain silence, face the speaker, and hands on desk. Oh, and then they can all celebrate together that they have had victory over the orc. So they're combating their incorrect behavior with specific desirable behaviors. You ever hear people who teach preschool, kindergarten, or just early childhood education talk about, or just even parenting tips that you hear? I used to work at a preschool, and this is something that I always heard, that instead of telling the students what not to do, tell them what to do. Instead of saying, don't run, say, walk please. And that triggers their brain. They're gonna, of course, especially at that age, they're gonna do what they hear. If they hear the word run, they're gonna think to run. If they hear the word walk, they're gonna think to walk. So that also applies here, right? We're telling the students, we're asking the students, these are the desirable behaviors. Please complete these desirable behaviors. So now your brain is becoming active in a lot of ways. For most of the monsters, you have some sort of physical component. Keep feet on floor, keep hands to yourself. We have putting active tools on desks, so a lot of physical things involved as well. And we know that the more of our 5 senses we are using, the better involved, engaged, and better our learning is. So it's another reason for having the physical things involved. We're telling the students what we want from them instead of saying, we don't want you to do this. So we're giving them an alternative. And so we're training them with consistent use of the monsters. We're giving them that conditioning for behaving well. We also are wanting them to be engaged with their activities. What are they doing in class? And hey, let's get a little bit of collaboration going for that. Let's increase the compliance, and eventually this is going to add in some engagement as well. So we'll start a quest, catch up. Okay, so the students know what is expected. They're seeing it. They know the time limit. It's always great for them to see the time limit. And so they have that expectation with quests. And then we're rewarded as students, and we get to choose our rewards. You can make your own, of course, but the idea that they can get rewarded for their proper behavior, because they don't have enough coin to cash in rewards if they are continually fighting monsters, because the monsters will not allow them to redeem their quest. See, there's a threshold of 1. So if they fight 1 monster, they're going to fail that quest. So sad. You can feel confident that if you use this consistently with anytime they have this behavior, don't argue, don't warn them, just initiate a battle with a monster. They're going to learn. They're going to get conditioned to that. And that's going to not allow them to get gold. And it's going to take their HP. And then they'll have to use their gold to get a repair kit. So you can trust that as long as you're staying consistent with the monsters, everything else is going to play out well for you. And that the students are going to learn that, hey, I get rewarded for doing things correctly, for doing what's asked of me, and for supporting my classmates in doing well. And I get to choose that reward. Just think about when you're an adult and you're saving money. If you save enough money, you can get a little splurge every once in a while, right? Hopefully, if you're budgeting well. So the students have to budget for their reward. So it's not just given to them outright. They have to earn it. So it's teaching them all those things. So that's the meat and taters of Clase Arena. You can do so much with just those components. And let's talk about what's involved with the individual student components. So first is Barracks. They have their own profile, HP, attack, defense, stamina. They make their vow. They have attributes. All of these things go in together game-wise, game mechanics-wise. So students are going to have more buy-in whenever they have that ownership, right? So, oh my gosh, I get to have my own character and customize it. They get to choose their archetype, right? And they get to choose their vow. They also get to do side quests to level up, so they have some customization from that. Oh, I'm a student. I get to have my own hero. That's really cool. Now, if I don't see as much value in supporting my whole entire class, hopefully they do, but they've got a real personal connection. And then, we're going to promote collaborative learning here with parties. And not just a group of students setting together, but we're going to give each student a specific role, a specific job to do to support their group. We're going to help students monitor their progress. Oh, look at my attributes. Look how many I'm getting from being in a party and for having a certain hero archetype. Oh, I'm leveling up. Oh, look at my gold. So these students are learning to track progress, which is just a great life skill, right? And then students are learning that when I work really well in my role, I can get recognized. Whenever my team and I work really well together, we can get recognized. So it's that small group recognition. It is more of that positive reinforcement. It's not so much telling them what we want them to do, right? This is an observation-based system. I'm going to observe you in your natural habitat of the classroom, and when I notice you are doing something amazing, I'm going to acknowledge that. I'm going to feed that behavior so it increases. Thus, we have that positive reinforcement, right? And a lot of times, was honestly a pet peeve of mine. It has been always, really, still, but this Clase Arena has helped a lot. It always really bothered me that our traditional ways of dealing with behavior oftentimes gave most attention to students who were misbehaving, or just attention in general on the misbehavior, which we know can, of course, increase that misbehavior if we're giving attention to it, right? We spend all that time and effort, we wear ourselves down, and then the students who are consistently doing what they're supposed to do, they kind of fall by the wayside and don't get recognized. And I really just couldn't stand that. Like, I always try my best to recognize those students. But, you know, it can be challenging because you do have to deal with your undesirable behaviors, right? So this is what I love so much about Clase Arena is we have a system to recognize those behaviors. We can also encourage review, studying, basically like study guide. I also super love this for vocabulary. In mathematics, vocabulary is very important. It's important everywhere, but a lot of times there's not a great place to really practice that vocabulary, at least for me. I mean, there's, of course, things you can do, but I like the idea that we can have a quick recall type of battle here of a 15-second time limit and really push students on even some math facts fluency or just fluency in whatever your content area is. So, promoting healthy competition, also promoting a little bit of healthy competition here with the Sovereign Crown system, and some just flat out fun. Rolling of the dice. Let's see if we get it. Yay! Okay. And rock, paper, scissors. Some of it's just flat out fun, right? You do have your right of insight with your content. And then encouraging students to study outside of school time. Okay? Basically in the place of homework. If homework is not a thing that really works for you anymore. I know different people have different opinions on homework, but I think it's become increasingly challenging for homework to be like a successful thing to use. But this would not attach a grade to homework, but it would still give some encouragement for students to do studying outside of school and also to connect with their families, because that is so, so important. Lastly, I'll show you this, the records. Showing the students charts of their progress is a great way for them to reflect on their behavior. And also, for a math teacher, it's a great way to teach as well. So, just throw that in there. All right, so that's it for the Ed-Psych/pedagogy video on general overview. You can check out the tutorial on general overview and the coaching video as well.